Alright everybody, welcome to the bright side. This is what my studio looks like in the middle of the night when I'm working, super bright. It's 4,200 plus looms in here, so it's perfect daylight, no matter what time of night it is. I love it. I can see all the details. Anyhow, why do I have this camera on right now? Because I'm going to do an art tip. We had an email come through 2+ weeks ago, dose weeks plus, maybe even 3 weeks. Might have been almost a month. From Josh White. I've been busy, Josh. Josh asks, "Hey Rob, thanks for taking the time to look this stuff over." He's been working on a Halloween piece. He's having trouble trying to figure out how to approach coloring it. Wants to know if he should use color pencils in addition to Copics to get the glowing effect from candles. He's kind of stumped as how he should exactly go about doing that in terms of making the main source of lighting and having the other colors of the light mesh in. So to help talk with me about this is Brandon Mega Potato James. Brandon, say hi.
Hey, it's me, Lead Heavy, not Meg Potato.
Yeah,
Hey,
all right.
everybody.
Yeah, well, we'll see about that. So let's go look at some of Josh's examples of his art that he sent over. Go to the Cintiq. So
All
this
right.
is something that he's colored recently with all Copics, right? It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Wait for Brandon to catch up. Got some Pokemon here. It's pretty dope. Pretty good stuff. Nice dragon.
Oh, I think that's the Mega Evolution of Charizard.
Yeah, nice dragon going on there.
Mewtwo.
I don't know who that is, but pretty good. Pretty good stuff. Pretty good. You should pay attention to how this guy renders shapes, Brandon. You might benefit from that. All right. So I think what he's talking about here is like with the fire, right? So this is his attempt to do kind of like glowing fire using Copics, and you can sort of see where he's got the orange, red, yellow, but it doesn't really blend together. It's like a nice, cool cuts and grads kind of. Remember the first few issues of Spawn,
Hmm.
Brandon, back in the day? I mean, it looks cool. He probably wants it more naturalistic,
I
right?
like that Growlithe. Or the
So
tiger character with the fire.
this is the piece in question he's talking about. Why don't
Hmm.
we go to the desktop here, turn that off, and desk cam. All right, turn on face cam. So I'm up here. We'll move this up because I share the workspace. Brandon, you're going to monitor the chat room.
Sounds good. We got Jamal in there.
So I have printed out a copy of his lines. I actually printed these in red. This is B marker paper. Try not to use my good stuff for art tips videos, but I figure may as well use the same kind of paper I would use. So this is costing me money, Josh. You remember that.
So this is all he wants to know how to do it with markers. I thought
He
we were
wants to
doing
know
this.
how you incorporate color pencil.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to explain a little bit. Let me grab... The one thing I don't have open is my camera controls here. Let me grab those so we can zoom in a little bit. All right. You can see I printed this out in red. Now, why red? It looks nifty. Actually, it's because when the lines are red or tinted like this, they'll blend in with the coloration easier. I can always go back and add blacks over what I want for actual solid black ink, or I could just turn the things I want red in Photoshop that I want to blend and leave the rest black if that's what I want. It's really your preference. It's all preference, folks. I don't believe there's any one way to do it. Me personally, I would turn the whole thing red and then just add blacks where I want to as I'm Copicing, which is what you'll see me do whenever I'm coloring anyhow. These are the candles in question, plus I imagine maybe some of the lighting on his face. So why don't we grab some color pencils, and why don't we grab a couple Copic markers so we can show the difference here, right? All right, so for the 3 Copic markers, I've grabbed Y06 for a yellow, YR04 and YR09, maybe even a Y00. We'll see what this looks like when we just use markers, right? Let me zoom in quite a bit more. So if we just practice here, this is why I always do a color guide, folks. Let's say I wanted to just use Copic markers to get the yellow. I could start with a really, really light Y00. And then I could come over to the Y06. And then come over to Y04. Now you can see there's a definite step in the value. The value is actually the black and white version of this color,
Uh-huh.
what it would look like in black and white. So you could say that's a significant step between the two. They don't really just blend together, right?
Right.
And then the Y09,
So there's a big contrast in them.
less contrast, and this to the Y09. That's one way of doing it. You could leave it that way. He probably wants more of a blend. You
Mm-hmm.
could, at that point, then go grab some color pencils. Let's try... Yeah, I use polychromos because I like the way they blend. You could then use them to blend between the two. They make for really good blending. They're semi-opaque, so you can come right around the edge. Kind of soften those edges up a little bit. Right? Soften them. And fill in some of the little areas that are in the candle. And then grab a real light yellow and add the glows. And even then this red's a little too dark, I'd probably lower the opacity on that when I actually, on the final, so I don't see that at all. So it's using it more as I probably wouldn't print those out at all, actually. I would just leave them empty and color the light sources in, if you want my opinion on the idea. So that's one way to do it. Using Copic, and that's a lot of my stuff now is kind of done around that idea that you start with Copic marker and then you blend. And look, if this was going to be more, you can also take the polychromos and then soften the edges too, inversely.
Mm-hmm.
The way to think about it are Copic markers are semi-transparent and color pencils semi-opaque. Brandon, you were going to ask?
I was just saying the cool thing with these color pencils, you don't have to really push hard. You just kind of go over it real soft, real nice, and it makes a nice blend. You don't gotta. Before when I used to color, I'd push the hell out of pencils and I'd break shit. And you watch me, it's stressful. And then you're just, hey man, just relax it and just take your time and build up layers. Which a lot of people think you have to put down that first layer and it's got to be it. When really you're building up color and value, right? Is that the best way to say it?
Something like that. A thing to remember too is contrast is key when it comes to glows. So, case in point, if I take a C5 from a value standpoint and start to color next to this candle, it looks a little glowy. That has an effect. I'll make sure that's centered. Make sure that's right. If I take a C10, which is almost near black, and I do that, that has a much greater effect. The contrast.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Which, now it looks like it's glowing on the left, not so much on the right. So the way to think about it is what they're illuminating. They're illuminating the darkness. So you want to make certain that whatever's behind that glow, however you lay it down, it's contrasting against it. So it's giving that candle an effect. In Photoshop, you'll see guys add glows all the time to their work. Just keep adding glows, and it doesn't make it any more dramatic. And it's actually because they need contrast shadows.
Mm-hmm.
Something else you can do too is leave yourself a little bit of space, and then you can fill it in with color pencil or Copic. Copics and color pencils go back and forth, man. You can blend right over them, and then fill back in. You can use the Copics, kind of smudge them and blend them a little bit, and then also blend back over using color pencil. There's a little bit of lead on there. It's a little gray for some reason. So it comes down to how well you core that. You can do it completely with color pencil. Again, the only problem is with, I definitely think the light yellows now, I don't really use Copic markers for.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's super light yellow that I want to have like a light source. I'll just use color pencil. Because look how little I use, and it's got a nice effect. I mean, as well as the internet can help with that. And then you can come over here. Remember with color pencil too, the closer you hold it, the more intensity you're going to get. The further back you hold a pencil, the more you can blend lightly. You know, so if you just want to like lightly shade in an area, just hold it further back. You know, you can blend out. Figure out how much time you want to take with that. Obviously, you can use a combination, right? So getting to the chrome orange kind of helps because it's pretty well saturated. And you can come back in here and kind of increase the intensity of some of this light.
That's cool.
Right, and it has more of a natural, you kind of get there. After like the
Right.
third or fifth one, you'll kind of like that's why I always like to do a little color guide, so I can kind of practice a little bit, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And you can soften the edges using the color pencil to come back. And there's something underneath my damn. What's underneath there? Something underneath there. So, and if you just keep working that over for 5 minutes, several minutes or so, you know, you
Yeah.
can really blend it together and give it a nice shade. And I think like that gets you more of that transparent feel, you know, as much as you can, short of using pastels. With the pumpkin head, it's the same basic idea. You could use the lights to come in with the color pencil and halo, the same way you would with Copics. You know, and I'm kind of
Yeah.
haloing around.
Right. Like you said, I mean, you're only spending maybe a minute or two here, but when they're doing it, spend a good 5 minutes or a good chunk of time just working it over and just giving it a good couple passes.
Yeah, the color pencils build off one another. They're semi-opaque, so they actually build up, you know, and they saturate the more you add over them, which is nice. With Copic markers, they're semi-transparent, so they're just going to kind of get darker, or they're going to get more of just the same color. You're not going to be able to add a lot to it, you know.
Yeah.
So this is why, like, I moved towards a blend between the two and cut my Copic marker count down. One, it's just way cheaper, you know. These pencils last a while. Two, I'm not doing the whole thing with color pencil, though I might kill my fucking knuckles. But you can see here, by contrasting, I'm throwing more saturation toward the right. You can come right around the edges and just sort of. This is why I read tint the lines, right? Because then I can come over here and just tint the lines that color. And we can grab red and come way over here and totally saturate. Things that are actually more saturated, the darker they get. That's how you end up with a rich black, with a multitude of colors. And you can see that mouth start to have some meanness to it, like a little bit of fiery kind of effect. You can blend between the two. Come back here and blend with the yellow.
That's cool.
Leaving yourself just a little bit of white in the center, so it's got a little bit of that.
The glow.
Yeah.
The white gives it that glow, that beam of light.
So, pretty simple. Pretty simple. You have any questions about this, Brandon?
How long have you been using, how long have you used color pencils? Like, actually, like this?
Since high school.
All right, so it's not like you just started recently. I mean, you've been
No,
doing
but I
this for
gave
years.
up from 1996 till 2015.
Oh,
So I didn't touch them for like
there's
20 years. No, in
yeah.
1998 was probably the last time I really touched color pencils. Matter of fact, no, it was, yeah, winter of 98. I did this piece. It was 11 by 17. All, Alphonse Mucha, those
Nope.
floral designs? He's an Art Nouveau painter, illustrator. So he did a lot of these like really ornate flowers, petals that tied into like text. Uh, when you look at the layouts and some of Quesada's layouts for like Daredevil, when he did the Daredevil to Doctor Strange,
Uh-huh.
came in that Daredevil. Remember he did that one with Kevin Smith?
Yeah.
And there's that one where Doctor Strange, he did the border panels. He kind of borrows a lot from Alphonse Mucha. He did it with Ninjak as well. Anyhow, I did a whole piece like that all in color pencil. Blended
Oh wow.
everything, had all these effects and these lighting effects, and I killed my knuckles so bad as a 19-year-old kid. I vowed to never use color pencils ever again. But I was having a problem. I ran into this piece a little over a year ago, a Darth Maul piece. Remember that one, Brandon? And
Yep.
I tried to
With
color
all
the
the oranges and the
yeah, I
browns,
tried coloring the whole background with Copics, and it just didn't go very well. And so I
came out
started,
muddy.
yeah, I started to really think about how I could improve this process. And coming back to color pencils were my way around it. Just and then as I started to use them, see here I can blend using come back with Copic. As I started to use them more, I realized, oh, I can blend these blend pretty seamlessly with with Copics, which is not unheard of. I mean, the Copic website talks about it all the time. There's always some kind of
Right.
blend. What what I think you should know too, though, is that you can use that in lieu of owning 700 Copic markers. That's why I got my colors down to like 64. You know, so these little puppies. Plus, they smoothen out like textures. Sometimes when you lay a lot of Copics on top, they get that marker texture. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't. You want to smoothen it out. You can take the black, or one of the colors of greens, whatever color you want to, and lay it over that and fill in some of those gaps and remove some of that texture, make it look kind of smooth. You notice, Brandon, sometimes it tends to look like ice cream.
Yeah.
When you do it right, you're like, well, it kind of looks tasty.
Yeah.
You know.
I don't want to say it has. I don't want to say smooth or soft. It just yeah. It has just like a gleam of just prettiness to it.
The thing to remember is try to give yourself. See here, it's a hard edge. Try to give yourself a bit of an opening, right, around something. Not that I would use black for that background. I would probably use a color. But if you give yourself a bit of an opening, then when you come in, a little bit of space, you can come in and blend with the marker one way. So here on the background, I can take the background, start to, and I'm still keeping myself a little bit of an opening there. But I soften that edge, and then I can grab the saturated red. And again, this is where I would practice this before I did it on the final piece. So I can figure out how that's going to work. Try to blend into the black. Figure out it's going to be a lot more saturated as it hits the black. I can try to soften that edge and as much as you can with traditional art, folks. I mean, short of an airbrush, there's really not much. When you airbrush with some acrylic paint, that's going a little bit further than I want to do with these commissions. So, but you can see even there, like as you start to put that color into the black, softens the edge quite a bit. And you can come back with this over here. And
All I say is don't rush to use the black markers always. Like when you have me coloring pieces, you always have me use black last. As far as I build up to it.
yeah, you
'Cause-
want to use the blacks to push forward as a contrast thing, the other colors, the other
mhm.
values. You use it to push. One thing I don't know if it's coming through the internet is that this red actually is slightly opaque over the black, so it has a little bit of that ambient glow.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
kind of goes over it a
yeah,
little.
yeah.
And gives it that gloss. I don't want to say gloss, but that shine over the
It's
black.
it's subtle, and if you put some when you're all done with this, if you put some glossy that gloss lacquer or was it enamel, you could spray it with. I usually do
Right.
2 coats, let it dry, and it really when you get it, you've seen the covers when I get done with them, Brandon. They're pretty
Yeah.
fucking right? You're like, ooh.
And if
Big,
you do that, people, make sure you hold the can back and you lightly spritz over it from a distance and just nice and easy. Don't just
there are
an inch
instructions on
away
the
from.
label. Yeah, don't just
Okay.
get right up on there and spray the shit. So read the instructions properly,
End up
folks.
having a water puddle right in the middle of your art.
So this is the direction I would go in more than this. These lines here too, I would probably just erase them completely from the final printout and then just have those drawn in there so I know where they're supposed to go when I look at my reference art, you know? I don't see the point of having any lines on the candles. Um, anything else, Brandon? Have any questions?
No, I think you covered it all, and we talked about it. Like I said, just if you're trying to try a practice sheet before you do your actual final art, or because most people don't have printers where they can print out their lines. So if Josh doesn't, and he I would say I would try this on a separate paper first before you attempt it on your final art.
It
Give it a
can
couple
be any
tries.
piece of paper, folks. You don't have to be the same paper. You can just grab another piece of paper and
Yeah.
same fucking thing, you know. Just imagine, what would that look like, you know? So, um, yeah, but again, some of your paper types matter too. Like I say, I use this B marker paper or a smoother base. A more textured base would have a slightly different look, you know. It depends on your preference, but but it's pretty effective, I think, and solves a lot of problems. All right, so Josh, please get back to me if you have any other questions. Sorry I made you wait almost a month for this, but that's the way it works. All right, Brandon, where can people check out some of your Copic marker work in the
You
future?
can find me on the best way to see all my stuff is Instagram at lead heavy LEAD heavy. You'll see a lot of line practice stuff, but if you scroll down, you'll see Copics and sketch covers and such. And thanks to Karen, Jamal, and anyone else watching. We appreciate all the views that people log on and watch us. It's nice.
Yep, I'm going to be coloring Batman in Copics starting tomorrow. So if you want to be here to see
I
me
will be
start
there.
to fucking lay down, where is that son of a bitch? This sucker is going to get done in Copics and Distress Ink starting tomorrow. If you want to hang out tomorrow, hang out. You can see it all here. We're all going to record it and then eventually do a speed paint, the whole thing. All right, Brandon, we got to go. I got work to do. Say goodbye, Brandon.
Later, everybody. Bye
Later.
bye. Blinded by the light.
You're going to get me DMCA'd for that. Thanks.